Good morning everyone. So today is the day that I'm going to be doing a rescape in the fish room. So obviously it's a tank that is currently lit up. This is a tank that I set up, I think it was one of the first I did of the fish room 2-3 years ago. At that time I just built the fish room, didn't have a load of money, so it wasn't done with any fancy scape. I just got a few bits of vinyl wood, chucked it in, and it was home to the licorice gouramis and samurai gouramis. And now I moved the licorice gouramis out into a breeding tank, which is down there, which I might try and show you later, because the light's off at the moment. And samurai gouramis, obviously, I had a pair. I lost the male over a year ago now. Jumped out of this tank, unfortunately, even though it's got cover slides on. And then I moved the female in with another 10 that I got ordered in for me, moved them into the big audio tank with the half beats, and unfortunately they all picked each other off. So I don't have any of those anymore. So yeah, it's time for this tank to get a bit of a rescape, get it looking a bit prettier, having it more of a sort of attractive Biotope-inspired aquarium. Still going to have leaf litter, and it's going to be home to some South American fish. And I'm going to choose between either the pencil fish, the green leons, or the ruby tetras that I already have. I'm thinking of 2 of those shoals will go into this tank. And then maybe one day I might introduce some blue rams, but I'm not sure yet. The first thing to do is to strip this tank out, give it a good clean. I'm actually going to leave the sediment in, because that's going to be full of nutrients and life, so it will be like an instantly mature tank. And then rescape on top of it, fill it back up, and let it just sort of mature for a while before I move the fish in. It used to have sort of quite a basic light on from Amazon. Just grab it from up here. So I had 2 of these light units on one either end to give sort of a light coming from either side and a darker patch in the middle. It worked okay, but I got quite a few algae issues because I didn't have much plants, and there's got a bit of blue light in here, so I don't think it worked quite well. So I've actually upgraded it to a Chihiros B80 light unit. Again, not the most fancy of the Chihiros lights, obviously, but for what I need, I'm hoping it's going to be really good. It's going to give a bit of a better lighting effect on this tank. I'm going to be planting it quite heavily, so hopefully it'll be a bit of an improvement without spending a load of money, because it's not going to be a high energy tank, it's not going to have any CO2, I'm not going to add too much fertiliser, so I want slower growth, but I want to keep the plants healthy. So I'm going to give this light a try, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's the plan. I'll drain it out now. I might not talk too much throughout the rescape, I might just focus on it and just film it and do a few voiceovers, so I can focus on what I'm doing. I'm also obviously don't have a huge amount of time, and trying to talk, trying to separate it all out can take a bit longer. So I'm thinking if I just rescape, take some sort of, I guess, time lapses and stuff of the process, and then should talk about the final product at the end. But yeah, hope you enjoy watching it.
And here we see what 2 years of botanical detritus build-up looks like. What a mess. Now, I do want to leave a lot of this detritus in situ, but it's just going to be an absolute nightmare trying to plant into it. So what I'm doing is going to remove sort of half of it and push it all to the back, and then cover it in sand to lock it away in the substrate. So hopefully this will work. Because I took some of the detritus out, I'm just going to add some of this natural substrate from Aquaforest to act as a base layer as well. That will all get locked away with sand, just like the detritus will. And now I've got a bucket full of a mix of different substrates all together, washed thoroughly. This will just cap off the dirtier substrate, which is full of botanical mess and hopefully lock it away and stop it getting into the water column while I fill it up. That's the plan anyway. There was still some surface sediment on the glass and on top of the sand, so I'll just give it a quick rinse and siphon that out to keep it as clear as possible while I'm planting. Now it's time for the hardscape, so I've got these 2 bits of Manzanita from Riverwood Aquatics that I ordered in. I really want the hardscape to not be the centre of the tank. The planting, the botanicals are the main feature. This is just to add a bit of height and a bit of interest. So I've just added some sort of detailing twigs that I collected locally from the woods around here. This will just add a bit more texture and detail. Final placement will obviously change when I add water, and then because none of this was pre-soaked, I'm just going to lock the 2 large pieces in position with the super glue technique onto a little round pebble. Hopefully the stone won't be visible because they wouldn't have large stones, rocks in this sort of habitat in the wild. So I've just got a few botanicals left over from the 30 cube scape, so I'm just going to add them in to add as a first base, and then I've got more to come, and then some root tabs in soil as well. So the first set of plants are all tropical 1-2 grows, all came from Riverwood with the hardscape. I'm going to plant from smallest to biggest, so starting with these 2, and then moving on to the larger stuff in a second. And as you can see from the length of this time lapse, there is a lot of plants in one pot of each of these species. It's always important to keep your plants damp. Now the stars of the show are in here. So Ty, Biotopia, I'll pop his account in the description, sent me a load of cuttings of some really cool rare plants from South America. They arrived a couple of days ago, so I just popped them in this tank, plant farm tank, just to make sure they kept going while I waited to do this video. Not only are a lot of these plants from Ty, but he is a huge inspiration for the style of planting that I'm doing. I really like some of the tanks he's done and some of the footage that he takes when he's down in sort of Brazil, of sort of a mix of plants all merging together with one or two stems popping up between other plants and not the sort of more Dutch style of clumps of the same species all in different areas. So I'm giving this a go and we'll see how it goes.
So I think that's it for today. Just for this clip, I've kept the room lights off, so I'm going to be a little bit too dark to see, but I want the focus to be on the tank. There's obviously a lot to grow in, a lot to change, a lot of clearing to do. I've got a little tiny filter full of like a polywool, fine filter media to take out any sediments, and I've got a submersible heater on the other side just to heat it up. Eventually it will be linked up to the full sump system that I've got running on this rack, but for now I want to let the plants have time in clear water to grow in, root in, and get used to their the layout of the tank before I start putting tinted water in there as well. Also, obviously, this tank is 90 litres of cold tap water, which would immediately go into the system and potentially shock the other fish. So, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it running like this until it clears, and then I will link it back to the sump. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how it looks, I think. Mostly there's more botanicals to add, but again, I'll obviously do that when I put it onto the system. There'll be an update at the end of the video on a few days' time once it's sort of looking a bit more how I want it to look, I guess. I was hoping that the sort of manzanita wood would be a little bit thicker in size. It sort of gets a little bit lost in there, but actually it's exactly what a branch would look like had it fallen into a planted, flooded area. So yeah, the bit of space back down here. I do actually have one more pot of Calanthium livianum, so I might just open that up and fill some gaps over this side. But again, those plants are just going to start up running soon and cover the space hopefully anyway. Let's see what it goes like. I've never really done a tank like this, so something new for me. And hopefully it's gonna grow in really nice. Yeah, so more to come in the following days. So it's been about a week since I set this tank up. There is a slight haze to the water, which is perfectly normal for a newly established, newly set up botanical aquarium. I've actually trimmed a lot of the Myriophyllum because I had very mature cuttings and they were already really tall.
I have seen some die off here. Hopefully it's just the plants are acclimatizing to their new water parameters, but I'm going to keep an eye on it.
I'm happy to start making this tank black water. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to start circulating the water from the main system, which has a nice tint to it, getting it filling into this tank, and in about an hour's time I will come back and hopefully the water in here will be the same as the water in the other tanks. And now that's going to be good because the fish that are going in here are the ones in this tank down here, the green neons and the pencil fish. And I think they are green line or green striped pencil fish. Unlike my previous video where I mentioned, because they were listed wrong on the shop, and as juveniles I wasn't 100% sure, so I just trusted their judgment. So yeah, those guys are going to come up here and this is their new home. There are some really cool biofilms in this tank developing as well on some of the botanicals, so I'll get a footage of that at some point as well and show you what they look like, because that's what this style of fish keeping is all about. It's embracing those biofilms, it's embracing the algae and embracing the tint. So yeah, let's get this tank black water.
So I've not used this bit of pipe for a while, so there is going to be some sort of sediments and stuff built up in there that's going to come out as this flow coat's turned on. Those particles will just get swept away in the current, hopefully, and back into the sump and locked away. But again, these are natural, and if I get some sediments on the sand, well, I've already got some, so it doesn't really matter.
So I let the tank colour up and get the same water parameters as the rest of the tanks, including the tank that the fish are coming from. Now it's time to try and catch a fish. I'm really liking the look of it. It's got a golden glow to the water, and it's just blending in nicely with the botanicals and making the whole thing look a bit more natural. So yeah, really pleased with how it's looking. Like I mentioned before, I did ideally want the wood to be slightly thicker and chunkier and have a bit more of a statement, but I actually quite like that it's so plant dominated and botanical dominated, and it's not relying on the hardscape to give it that impact. That's the tank build complete. I'm really happy with how it's looking. It's a shame some of the plants are dying a little bit, but I wanted to get the fish in there and see how they look, so I just went ahead and got this tank going and tinted. Like I said earlier, I am tempted to put some blue rams in here. I think more pops of colour along with the green neons will look really good and give a bit of interest, and I might start to see some breeding behaviours. But in general, the fish are acting just as I wanted them to. They're swimming in and out of the plants and looking really great. So yeah, let's see how this grows in. I'll do an update soon. I am thinking I might do a full fish tour update because I've obviously got the new rack. I've not shown off the tanks in the house recently, so I thought I'd do a full fish tour for you coming soon. But first, I do need to get my Betta Embellis for the cube tank. So I need to get ordering and getting that one sorted. Anyway, I'll leave you with some lovely shots of the fish, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. I can't quite believe it's there. I've had this channel for just over a year now, and it's grown really quite well, to my surprise. You guys actually listen to what I say, and it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, thanks for subscribing already, and yeah, let me know what you think.
So just want to finish this video by saying a massive thank you to Ty. He sent these plants over to me. He didn't have to, it was really kind of him, and he's helped me so much along my fish keeping journey. So yeah,